Do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. As you know, on November 8th, the California voters approved Proposition 64, which allows the possession, the use, and the cultivation of recreational marijuana in certain amounts. However, Proposition 64 allows cities to prohibit marijuana businesses and land uses with one exception. Cities may not completely prohibit private indoor cultivation of 6 marijuana plants or less, but cities may place reasonable regulations on indoor cultivation. All other marijuana uses may be prohibited. Under Proposition 64, recreational marijuana cultivators, retailers, and other businesses may operate if they obtain a state license and comply with city ordinances. And the state anticipates issuing these licenses in approximately January of 2018. It's anticipated that Proposition 64 will encourage establishment of marijuana businesses, and having express regulations will make enforcement easier and minimize confusion and decrease the potential for unnecessary nuisance abatement litigation. So the ordinance before you places a temporary ban on marijuana land uses and businesses while the city takes the time to develop and to study permanent regulations. The plan is to hold work-study sessions in the beginning of next year to start the conversation between the community and the council regarding what options the city has and what permanent marijuana regulations does the city and the community want to establish. So staff's recommendation is to adopt a temporary ban while the city takes time to study and develop permanent regulations. And that concludes the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Any speakers?
We have 2. First is Veronica Langworthy.
Good evening, Council. I have come before you as a resident. I'm Veronica Langworthy. I'm a parent, a wife of a small business owner, and I live in Wildomar. And I encourage the Council to adopt the marijuana moratorium. We all want to have a safe and healthy community for ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and neighbors. I believe it is prudent for the Council to enact restrictions on marijuana facilities and propagation. According to the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency, marijuana is an addictive drug with damaging health consequences to its users. The short-term effects of marijuana use include memory loss, distorted perception, trouble with thinking and problem solving, loss of motor skills, decrease in muscle strength, increased heart rate, and anxiety. And smoking marijuana in particular raises the risk of lung disease. While there are legitimate uses for some form of marijuana in medication, the American Medical Association has recognized limited benefits of marijuana, specifically pain reduction and appetite improvement. However, a synthetic THC drug has been available to the public since 1985, and it does not produce the harmful health effects associated with smoking marijuana and is sold through professional pharmacies that provide protection against abuse. So in conclusion, I see 4 good reasons for adopting the moratorium. 1, a dangerous drug should not be distributed by private citizens. 2, adopting the moratorium, the Council will send a message to the youth in our community to say no to drugs which are very harmful. And this is a good message. And 3rd, the medicinal active ingredient in marijuana can be obtained in synthetic form at a pharmacy, so those with legitimate health needs do not need to go to a facility or cultivate weeds which may be contaminated with fungus or other impurities. And recreational use leads to problems such as impaired driving, impaired health, impaired thinking, impaired voting. So I would just appreciate if you would say yes to a moratorium in Wildomar and no to Weedomar. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ken Mays.
Well, my observation is, why is it all 12 articles in the attachments are anti-marijuana? What about the beneficial effects of marijuana, such as the treatment of glaucoma, the slowing the progression of Alzheimer's, improvement of lung health, control of epileptic seizures, etc., etc. The list is as long as the ill effects, yet none are listed. Is this a prelude to the future of the marijuana ordinance in Wildomar? Thank you.
That's all the speakers I have.
Okay, any question, discussion?
Well, personally, I think that taking our time with this is what we need to do. It's just passed, it's brand new. We need to find out more of what you guys want. It's your city. We want to be able to have some open study sessions with our residents there and hear opinions. We heard a couple tonight. I'd like to hear from a few more.
And we'd have, what, 52% voted in favor of marijuana in Wildomar. I'm not a user, I've never smoked weed, but a majority of people in the city want it, apparently. I know there's issues health-wise. I smoke cigarettes. There's issues with that too. But it's personal happiness and, you know, your self-drive. But I think the idea behind this, and I fully support it, is to look at the secondary and tertiary effects of things. And if we don't do that, we might implement something that may, you know, come back and bite us in the rear end, you know, a year from now. So I think it's prudent for us to, you know, take our time.
Jim?
You want me to say something? Okay. Until the federal government changes it off of a Class 1 narcotic drug, I'm not going to change my mind, and I'm going to prohibit it as long as I'm on the board. I'll always vote no. You can just look at Colorado, look at Washington. It's completely out of control. I'm watching it. I've been to studies. I've listened to professionals talk about this stuff. But the main thing is, as long as the federal government says no, then I'm going to say no, because they're the ones that send the money, the block grants and all these different things. And they're already saying they're going to go after a lot of grants and money from the federal government when people in cities and states don't follow federal law. I'm a states' rights guy. That's great. But when it comes to a substance, I'm sorry, but until they change it, I'm not going to change anything. So that's where I stand. So I'm all for the urgency. And then, yeah, you can do the studies, and as soon as the federal government says okay, then I'll have a change of heart, and then people can do whatever they want. But until that happens, it's a federal law, and I'm going to abide by federal law, not state law, which is California, who is out of control already and just making more of a mess for us. And how are we going to take care of all these people, and how are we going to fight the crime that's going to come with this kind of stuff? Just read the studies on the people that are robbing the dispensaries and all these different things. LA had to shut down half of them. I drive to LA all the time. They're gone because they were robbed all the time. They were constantly getting shot. People were getting killed in LA, and they had to close them down. They had to limit the amount of people. So I'm with federal law on this, so that's my personal opinion. I mean, whether you smoke it or not, I don't care. If you do it in your house, I don't care. If you grow in your house, I don't care, because it has nothing to me. But when you put it out on the street and you have a dispensary and people can buy it there, I care. Because when we had the guys here illegal, who was in line? The 20-year-olds, because they knew how to get a card and they did their thing. That's all.
Ben?
52.8 of the voters in our community, said yes to this, and that's something I can't ignore, but it's something we all need to look at. And so that's what this is the start of. Say let's get this done tonight and move on. We have a lot of other stuff to talk about, but we'll have a lot of time to talk about this over the next year.
Exactly. And actually, the people who want to have been calling already, who want to sell it or whatever they want to do, they can't get a license until January 2018, and they can't get a license until they get a license from the city. So we've had plenty of time. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Excuse me, one moment.
Yeah.
I got a late speaker.
Okay. Sorry.
Ms. Miller?
Okay. Ms. Miller?
I'm totally against this moratorium, and we need to plant hemp and industrial hemp, which also somewhat passed under Prop 64, which was organized by the billionaire George Soros, which is a Democrat in name only, and actually has a whole lot of holdings in Monsanto, which is fearsome in light of their genetically modifying cannabis. If you go online and study the young people who have epileptic seizures and find out that cannabis is taking them off of 10 of their psychotropic drugs and only one left, and they stop the grand malls, then you will absolutely be in favor of this, to see the sickest of the sickest come out of their problems I don't want anything to stand in their way of getting the medication that is better for our water, because, you know, things pass through the body. It uses what it's going to use, and then it goes into the waste treatment center. And then it goes back sometimes to wherever the water is sent, back into nature, and some molecules are too small and they pass through the waste treatment. So synthetic drugs do that. Two of the leading ones are Viagra and birth control pills. What a match, anyway. So, but cannabis does not affect the water, and you don't need to use pesticides to grow it. And it's a God-given plant. What are you doing outlawing a God-given blessing? You know, and these people who are robbing, they're robbing anyway. Some of their food stamps were late. So, you know, things are going on out there because Republicans shut down the government. So, you know, they're going to be robbing. It's a serious situation. That's why you need to take care of the people who come here and bless you with their presence, homeless or not. Was Jesus on the board of Exxon? No. So, you know, you need to find out what Jesus did. And he was, you know, totally compassionate to the poor. And you need to be too. And you better be glad they're on marijuana and not meth and starting fires in their trailer camps and not on the holy weed.
Any other speakers, Debbie?
There are no other speakers.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, all ayes.